When I got that platform in front of people, I didn't want to just use it to go look at me. I wanted to use it to go look at us. You're helping me feel less alone, and I'm helping you feel less alone by maybe saying something that you couldn't say on your own and putting a melody to it, right?
This is Rock That Doesn't Roll, the story of Christian music. I'm Andrew Gill, a music journalist who grew up listening to Christian rock.
And I'm Leah Payne, author of God Gave Rock and Roll to You, a history of contemporary Christian music.
And today, boy, we've got an epic, amazing story with our illustrious guest, Rosie Thomas. So excited to bring this one to you.
I am too. I'm not sure the last time I've had that much fun in an interview that we've done. Andrew, how many interviews have we done?
A lot.
I don't even know.
I don't even know, like 50 or more.
Yeah. We should count that. We should celebrate some milestone. But this one was so much fun. I wish it could have been 3 times as long, but all of us have lives to get back to.
Yes.
How did you reach out to Rosie?
Yeah, so it came about because I left an Instagram comment, and I think she remembered working with my brother, and then it turns out that her husband, Jeff Shoup, listens to our podcast. And so anyways, a bunch of text messages, phone conversation, and here we are. We got this interview with Rosie Thomas. But yeah, we should just say who just set up her career a little bit, that she is this singer-songwriter, a very emotive voice, and a lower register voice, right? Like a Sarah McLachlan or something, like that kind of a vocal talent. And that sort of emotional tenor, I'd say, she recorded 3 albums for Sub Pop. And so she kind of was in that era, the peak CCM era, where there was the are they or aren't they kind of bands, And you're like, well, I'm pretty sure she's a Christian, but she's not on a Christian label or anything like that. And then she also, you would see her play a concert and her speaking voice would be like octaves higher than her singing voice. And then she would do jokes and comedy things. It was such a singular experience to see Rosie Thomas back in those days.
Speaking with her, it was delightful because, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but we get at the sort of theatrical roots of her entertainment style. And I found her to be an absolute delight. And
no other term for her other than a delight. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Rosie, for delighting us and now delighting the listeners of this fine podcast.
And if you want to hear her stories about Steve Zahn, stick around for the entire episode.
Yeah, you got to get to the end.
But stay to the end.
It's worth it.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. This is road trip episode today.
Rock that doesn't roll.
Every idea starts with a problem. Warby Parker's was simple. Glasses are too expensive. So they set out to change that. By designing glasses in-house and selling directly to customers, they're able to offer prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Warby Parker glasses are made from premium materials like impact-resistant polycarbonate and custom acetate. And they start at just $95, including prescription lenses. Get glasses made from the good stuff. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you.
Not feeling the spring energy yet? You're not behind. With Grow Therapy, you can start small, like talking to someone who gets it. Covered by insurance, built for real progress. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent, licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/PRX today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/PRX. growtherapy.com/PRX. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan. This show is supported by Blue Land. We hear a lot about microplastics in oceans and food, but they can also come from products we use every day at home, including cleaning products. Blue Land is on a mission to make it easy for everyone to make sustainable choices. Blue Land believes that hardworking, clean products can be the norm, not the exception, so that you can do better for your family and the planet at the same time. From cleaning sprays and toilet bowl cleaner to dishwasher and laundry detergent tablets, Blue Land's products are independently tested to perform alongside major brands, and the formulas are free from dyes, parabens, and harsh chemicals. You'll love not having to choose between the safe option and what actually gets your house clean. Blue Land is a certified B Corp and Leaping Bunny cruelty-free certified. Their formulas are EPA's Safer Choice certified, and many products have also earned Cradle to Cradle's Gold Material Health Certificate. If you're looking to make a small change in your routine, you can get 15% off your first order at blueland.com/PRX. Get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/PRX. blueland.com/PRX.
Today on the show, Leah, we have a guest who I'm very excited to have with us. This is someone, I think I first saw her in concert more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago, or I don't even know.
Where? Was
probably
it, Andrew?
Shuba's. I think I probably saw you at Shuba's.
Yeah.
But she's already warned us that we will talk for as long as possible. We're going to need a hook to pull her off the stage at the end. Welcome the one and only Rosie Thomas to Rock It Doesn't Roll.
Welcome, Rosie.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You're joining us from your
awesome.
backyard.
Yeah, my backyard pavilion. It's it's really warm here today. But this is my escape place from the kids.
I get it.
This is my hiding spot. Yes, Leah, you get
it. They'll
come running
we
out.
We welcome the sounds of nature into the show.
You
this
have
time.
to.
It's good. It's good sounds.
We love it. Yeah, we love to hear it. Rosie, I've talked with you once on the phone, and I know that you are never at a lack of things to say. So and I know that we are going to be in for a wild ride, just talking about so many things, but I want to start with some little journalistic questions, like facts that I want to nail down, because I was trying to research your background, and I think that it's not like, if I'm reading your Wikipedia entry and things, I feel like people have regurgitated things and it's gotten a little sloppy. So
I've never looked at it in my life.
So you were let's start with your childhood, right? You were born near Detroit, and what was your growing up like, and when did, as far as religion and music, those are the two topics that we're interested in this show. When did those things first kind of intersect for you, and what was the nature of your upbringing in those respects?
Yeah, my parents were musicians, also blue collar workers. My mom was sort of a stay-at-home mom until she got a job at the post office. She hated it. I felt really bad for that, but regardless,
she didn't get to do like a John Prine type thing where she wrote songs while she delivered the mail.
Not at all, friend. No, she just got bitten by dogs. And chased you. It was pretty
doesn't always work
hilarious
out for
experience
you
for her.
A musician,
no,
mailman.
not really. No, but I grew up around, music my whole life. It was never pressured upon me. It was just something I loved, right? And I mostly grew up listening to Neil Diamond. That was my dad's sort of favorite artist. Yeah,
I love Neil
Diamond.
Diamond.
All of his. Oh, Leah, thank you. I'm a big fan because I sort of, not because I had to be, but it was just sort of, what was, my dad sounds just like him as well. So it's really warms my heart when I hear any Neil Diamond song. But my parents sang on the weekends. My older brother usually babysat us, which did not go well. They had wild parties sometimes too. My parents would have to come home. It was bad. But regardless, the cops were called a bunch of times, Andrew. And it was bad. They would put flyers out. 200 people would show up, and I was 9 or 10. I thought it was awesome.
Oh, wow.
And people were beer bonging in our living room, and I thought it was soda, and I was just like, this is awesome. But anyways, we got in trouble a lot. But it was fun. We grew up in the, Livonia, which is the suburbs of Detroit, and had a pretty wonderful childhood. My mom, we went to church every Sunday. My dad was an atheist at the time, but he went to church too. And it was sort of, in my upbringing. And it wasn't until probably, I want to say 18 or 19 that I really, my faith sort of got stronger. And I went to a Bible college, which is so crazy. And it was really wild, weird experience. I was kind of telling you a bit about it, Andrew. But,
well, how did you decide to go there? Like, how did it enter into the list of options for you?
Well, I knew that when I was about 17, 16, my dad bought me my first guitar, and I started learning, how to play it. And he said, I'm only going to teach you A, D, and E, he said, on the guitar. And once you get those down, once you build your calluses, then we'll go on from there. And so the only way, he said, I want you to get it down seamlessly, how to play. So I thought, well, how am I going to do that? So I started writing songs to it, right? And I realized, I kind of have a knack for this. And just to get me to kind of learn those chords. So I came at my dad, I showed him, and he said, where'd you come with that tune? I said, I don't know, I just wrote it, And I've always, since a little girl, always writing songs on the piano, writing things down. I mean, embarrassing stuff. I rhymed the word hot dog with stuff. I think I could do. But I was always really into poetry and really pursuing music. And I had these big ideas about being famous and really going in this direction. So my parents were very on board with that. I was in every musical play you could imagine. It was the, class clown. I was that girl.
Can you tell us what role you played in musicals?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. What's
yes,
the
Lee, I'd love
oldest
to.
one you remember? Yeah.
Well, there's so many, but my favorite role, Leah, was they were doing Annie, okay? And I wanted to get the role of Annie because that was the big role, right?
Yeah.
Which really didn't fit me. And this gal, Alicia, Holbrook, I'm really good at names. She got Annie, and she should have. She had like the perfect hair for it. But I got Miss Hannigan. And that, you guys, I brought the house down. I brought the house down. I also upstaged, which is not okay, but you're not supposed to do that. I upstaged the crap out of Daddy Warbucks and Annie. I ad-libbed, I just had the audience with the palm of my hands, and I just ran with it. But I did stuff you shouldn't do for that.
Wait,
that was my favorite
what
role.
age was this?
Gosh.
Were you? Are we talking like 14?
Oh,
or
probably
something?
15, 14 or 15.
Oh.
And I really thought I would pursue. Probably what I thought I was going to do is move to New York and do Broadway. But when the songwriting started happening, I realized I had a thing for this. And then at that time, I became a huge Joni Mitchell fan. I got, I sort of got into Bob Dylan. I realized, Joni Mitchell was just such made such an impact on me. I could listen to her Blue record over and over again, just stunned with her poetry. It was her voice as well, but it was mostly her songwriting was just so beautiful. I thought, could I do something like that? I really, and so I wanted to move to California because I thought I need to get out of Michigan, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think I definitely played it on the way there, right? In my Volkswagen. Yeah. And I really thought I need to get out of Michigan if I'm going to pursue this dream. And so at the time, my cousin was going to a Bible college and we were dear friends. She was like my older sister in a way. So she convinced me to go where she was going to school as a beginning of me just sort of getting to California and going to school. But it was just not me. And so I survived there like 6 months. And it was, it just a little bit over the top. And I just didn't know what I was sort of getting myself into to some degree. But I then moved to Southern California to live near my best friend who was out there. And I started playing coffee shops, open mic nights. Remember those? And I didn't have a lot of material. So after I moved back home after that first year in California, my dad and I started playing coffee shops together because my dad knew hundreds and hundreds of songs. That's all they did was cover songs. So I said, Pop, would you play with me? Because you could fill in the spaces I can only play maybe a 20-minute set, but if he played with me, we could do a full hour, right? So we started playing all these coffee shops together. It was darling. And he let me keep all the tip money. I think that's all we got paid were tips. And it was that really made me write more. And then that sort of somehow led me to, maybe I should go to theater school and then do this on the side. I found a school in Seattle called Cornish College of the Arts, which led me to Seattle. But I had joined this band called Velour 100. Andrew, were you a fan of?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had seen them, I think, before you joined, because it was before I graduated high school in 1998.
Okay.
And they had played in Jacksonville a couple times. And I'm
trying to remember who the singer was at that time.
Yeah,
but,
it might have been
Tess.
No, I never saw Tess. I think it might have been Alicia Luma or someone.
You might be right.
But
yeah.
But like I remember because my older brother, who Rosie knows,
know him well.
We would stay after the shows, and that's how we met Trey Manny. And my brother still, works with him sometimes today. So
he's an awesome guy.
He's a listener to this podcast, I believe. So shout out Trey if you're listening.
Hi, Trey. I love Trey. I love him like a brother. Yeah. A friend of mine told me about this audition. Rose, you got to audition for Velour 100. Didn't know who the band was.
Because he was from the Detroit area as well, Ypsilanti.
He was. They lived in Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. Yep, or Ypsilanti.
Oh yeah, one of those.
And and I auditioned for them, and they gave me the job. And the first tour we did was with Jurado and Pedro the Lion. I'd never heard of them before.
I
in my
may have
life.
seen you on that tour in Chicago.
Oh, Andrew, how weird!
Possibly.
That's so weird. Wow. That's
Wait a
amazing.
minute. How old were you two when this was happening?
Oh, I had to have been 20, 21, 20 maybe.
And so that you hadn't.
20.
That's what another thing I was curious about. You didn't know Trey before you auditioned. You just heard.
Well, here's the crazy part. It's a good question. The church I was going to growing up was called Ward Presbyterian Church. It was a Presbyterian church. Pastor Hess, God rest his soul, and Trey went to that church, but he was older than me. So I knew of him. I knew friends would talk about Trey Manny. It was a pretty big deal there, and all of his older cool friends, right? So my best friend Kevin Brace talked about Trey all the time. So I knew that I knew him through other people, but he was kind of a big deal already. So I only knew of him that way. But we went to the same church, which is hysterical.
Okay. Because he was in the band His Name Is Alive, which was signed to 4AD,
oh my gosh,
which
yes.
is a cool
That's
artsy
right.
British label, and so he played drums in that band, but then Velour was his thing. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about His Name Is Alive and Warren DeFever.
Right.
Am
Yeah.
I right
yeah.
about that,
And that was Warren DeFever's band, and he produced a lot of Velour stuff. So.
And Warren's rad. What a crazy, awesome dude. And he still lives. I think he still lives in Detroit. He still has like a thing going.
Yeah,
there.
I just came across him on Instagram.
How funny!
I was trying.
I can't believe I remembered his name, but it's a
doing.
clever name, anyways. It's sort of pretty memorable, isn't it? DeFever. I love that for a last name.
Yeah, which that was one of those bands that was kind of like not associated with any kind of Christian industry, but was sort of crypto-religious in a way.
Right.
His Name
That's
Is
true.
Alive.
That's very
They
true.
would do gospel songs like "This World Is Not My Home," "I'm just passing through," and things like that. Yeah.
I didn't know that part. Yeah. Well, when I auditioned for when I was singing with them, the first tour we did, I'm trying to remember I don't know if we played at Shuba's. We were playing maybe different smaller clubs. Maybe we did. But you guys, I thought that Pedro the Lion, because I was sort of a hippie girl, right? I wore my own handmade clothes.
Oh.
And I had like one, Leah, it was embarrassing, but I had like one dreadlock.
Oh, that's so cute. That was the era though. I mean, I was a teenager then. What year would have this been like?
This would have been like 98, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah, 98 or 99.
Right?
Or
99?
Yeah.
Yep. Because I moved to Seattle not long after that. But I thought that I was so excited to meet Pedro Lyon because I was so sure they were a Rastafarian band from the name, right? I thought maybe his name was Pedro, right? So I was like, oh, we're gonna get so long. Wait till he sees my homemade outfits, my hair. We're gonna be like BFFs, you know. And then when I saw them, I was like, is he wearing a polo shirt? Like, is he wearing a blue Sears catalog? It's not what I pictured, right? But they were the sweetest people. It just not, you know, and I became an instant fan, right? But I had never heard of Damien Jurado before. It was all new for me. Trey introduced me basically to this, just a whole new musicians, new artists in the indie world that I didn't know existed.
Well, how convenient
So
that
it
you were
was-
already planning to move to Seattle. So
Well, that's the weird part. I was already planning on moving there. So by the time I moved there, I was going to move there knowing no one. The bass player from Pedro picked me up from the airport. I stayed with the Pedro guys for my audition. I already walked into this whole new scene of friends that just took me
was
under
that
their wing.
Jonathan Ford? Was he the bass player?
Ford wasn't anymore. It was Josh Golden. But I love Ford very much, and he, oh, what an awesome guy he is too. He would make me laugh so hard. But it was Josh Golden who picked me up, and Ben Brubaker was the drummer then. Just the three of them, I think. And I met all their girlfriends, and I ended up living with the girlfriends when I moved to Seattle to go to theater school. I mean, there's so much I could say, but that's when I really started playing more shows. And the Pedro, the tour with them was really short. It was maybe 5 days with Lure. And we just hit it off so well that the guys were like, Rosie, do you want to just come with us on the rest of the tour? I was like, yep. And I had to call my coffee shop job. I think I told him I got the chicken pox.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Leah, I would do that stuff all the time. And then I just hopped in their van, and then we just became buddies. And on that tour, they would play like the Innocence Mission. They were playing all these bands. I was like, who's this? And I just fell in love with this whole, you know, all these artists I had never heard of before, you know. So I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for Trey. Exceedingly I'm just so thankful for him for opening up this whole world for me. And then I'm thankful for Jurado and, you know, for Dave for sort of welcoming me into it. And I walking into this whole thing that I had no idea existed, and they just were lovely, and we became buddies overnight, you know, and it changed my life in a huge way because it was Jurado. We were buddies. We were like brother and sister, you know, and we would drive around in his Volvo. Everyone had a Volvo in Seattle, talking for hours and hours, you know, about what I wanted to do and talking about his life. And he had me sing on the Ghost of David record parking lot by myself.
Couples with their kids, where did we go?
And I skipped school that day to do it in the basement of their house, or their friend's house. And I remember him saying, Rosie, I just want you to sing it alone. I said, that's the weirdest thing ever. What? On your record? Yeah, I just want a girl to sing it. I said, all right, man. So I did it. And he turns it into Sub Hop. And Poneman at Sub Hop said, who's that girl singing? Does she do her own music? Yeah. So that's kind of how that started,
that's
you know?
amazing. And that's the whole other, the next chapter that I want to pause for a second because I want to share my specific mental illness and then give Leah a chance to ask a question.
Okay, go.
So I was reading your Wikipedia, and the first Bible college you went to was Calvary Chapel, right? And so
Yes, that's right.
And so then this is the red string and the meme Charlie Day with the red string.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, so she went to Calvary Chapel, but then I knew that so many of these Seattle guys were part of this Calvary Chapel church in Seattle and this youth sort of
That's
young
right.
people service that Bazan talked with us about in detail before. And, and I assumed that maybe you went to this Calvary Chapel. Then when you transferred to this other school in Seattle, you were like, all right, let me find a Calvary Chapel. And then you met all these people that way, but I was wrong. So
Yes. I went to a different church that they were all going to at that point. But they had grown up. You're absolutely right, Andrew. They all went to that Calvary Chapel, they would talk about it a lot. David Sprinkle was the youth pastor. I lived with the Sprinkles in the youth district
And Aaron
when I first moved
Sprinkle
there. Yeah.
got access
Aaron.
to the recording studio, right?
Yes, dude. Yeah. And Jesse. And, I met all those dudes, and I lived with his parents. That's where the girls also lived. And I lived in right above the garage in this cool little studio, place, and paid $200 a month for rent at the time, which is so crazy. But yeah, I ended up going to, I can't remember the name of the church now, but that's where Dave was going. That's where the Pedro guys were going. I can't remember if Jurado was going there, but it was another group of music friends who were sort of going to that one. And they had started going to a new place. But the youth group at Calvary I think it was Dave Sprinkle was leading it. I mean, that was like life-changing for them. This is where they all forged their bond. This is when they started doing music, together. So I missed that window.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a lot of fun. I know they had a lot of fun memories of that place, and it forged a lot of their friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I think they went to high school together too.
Oh yeah, Jurado and
yeah.
Bazan, yeah.
And Dave did. Yeah, that's right.
Rock that doesn't roll.
When we first started this project, we weren't sure if anyone would think to support us through listening, but certainly not through funding. And I'm really grateful that a number of people who care about the kind of history that we're doing are funding our work exploring the world of Christian rock. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Patreon.com/RTDR. We do have a decent amount of people supporting us. We are still not at living wage standards yet. But
No.
But it is a lovely community of people, and we would invite you to join them. We are always making this show for everyone to consume, but if you are able to support us, just the cost of a cup of coffee or a pint of beer once a month, that's all we're asking. So if it's valuable to you and you can spare it, join us over at patreon.com/RTDR to keep the show going.
Yes, we really appreciate your support.
This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
I was really interested in your musical autobiography that you gave us in terms of like the influences. I didn't hear anything about the stuff that I've written about, like traditional contemporary Christian music. So any of the 90s youth group bands that were popular back then. And I'm just curious, did you have any awareness? Because it sounds like you were raised in kind of outside that system a little bit in terms of your parents' music choices. And I was just wondering, did you have any awareness of people like Amy Grant or DC Talk or anything like that?
I only had awareness of Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith.
Yeah.
I was a huge Michael W. Smith fan. Rocketown.
Yeah.
And he's
Seed to sow.
Oh yeah, dude. I could. Yeah. It still touches me. So those are the only two, Leah, that I probably had tape cassettes of that and would listen to. There was this really slow song. I always loved, gravitated to slow songs, but they were beautiful. But yeah, those are the two that I sort of definitely were influenced by too, or just loved. That's about it though, really. Friends had mentioned Crystal Lewis. I don't, I didn't know much about her, but it was really Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith that it was sort of the only ones I knew. I don't even think I knew about DC Talk until Bible college, Oh,
that's interesting.
I don't know why. But yeah, it just wasn't in our home, My brothers didn't listen to that growing up. They listened to Led Zeppelin and other things. So it just wasn't really in our home.
I wonder if it had something to do with you being raised you said you were raised in a Presbyterian church?
Yeah.
And they,
you think I had
I don't know. I just wonder, could be a lot of mainline churches were kind of outside that evangelical bubble. I mean, Andrew was raised Methodist, but in Florida, right?
Yeah,
so I
in
don't
Florida,
know.
so,
You got to like
My
adjust for
parents
the
set us
Florida
loose
factor.
they set us loose in the Christian bookstore and said, you can get whatever you want here, so that's what my older brother,
That's really
that's how he
cute.
Oh
learned
wow,
to
that's a
crate
big
dig,
deal.
so.
Yeah, I think you're right, Leah. I wasn't. We didn't live in that bubble in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think had we, I would have had access to it, right? Because it would have been all I had access to. But that's just not how we grew up.
Instead,
you know?
Neil Diamond.
Instead, Neil Diamond hit the chart.
That's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, right. Stevie Wonder, and
yeah.
some good stuff. Cat Stevens. That was sort of more around us than the others. Yeah.
I had a question. So this is kind of a non sequitur, but it relates to the mainstream music world. But I was curious about your involvement with Lilith Fair. I'd read that you never attended as a young adult, but then did you ever get to perform at it?
I did, Andrew,
Oh,
one time.
cool.
Leah, one time.
Oh.
And I got to, it was so exciting. And it was just before, it was always a dream of mine to be a part of it, but it was just before I think they shut it down,
Wow.
when it stopped. So,
So the original Lilith Fair was just 97, 98, 99, but then they brought it back in 2010, and that's when you performed. So your musical career just missed the booming, full-fledged Lilith Fair.
Yeah, just missed it. It would have been so dope had it sort of been more something I was part of. But I got to sing with Sarah McLachlan and because they closed the night with all the artists, right? I think Emmylou Harris was there that night, and you joined the stage with Sarah. I can't remember what song we did, but it was really, it was so epic and exciting to be a part of that. And it was almost like, I want to say like a year later they stopped doing it. So I just made it in right at the right time.
Wow.
Yeah,
It was really cool.
We talked to Jennifer
Yeah.
Knapp, who played it a couple times.
Oh yeah, Jennifer
Yeah,
Knapp.
yeah.
Yes.
So that was, and
She's awesome.
And I know Sixpence, or at least Lee Nash did play as well. But
Oh, I bet Lee did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We became good buddies, when I moved here.
Oh,
She's
nice.
hysterical.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you're in
Aw.
Nashville now, right?
Yes, we're in Nashville, and but she's hysterical. I love her personality. We're like two peas in a pod. I mean, we just got at it, like we've known each other for years. But what a dynamite personality. Yeah.
So we have a big plot point right here, which is you alluded to this before. Jonathan Poneman, the founder of Sub Pop Records, heard you singing on a Damien Jurado song and said, hey, she should have her own solo music career. And you told me this on the phone, that
It's crazy.
he came to you and was like, what do you need in order to pursue music? And pulled out a checkbook, right?
Yes. His personal check.
And then what happened?
What?
Leah.
That is wild.
Then I fail. I was a major fail. He Jurado, I don't know if Jurado organized it. I don't think so. I think Poneman just told Damien, I want to see her perform. Tell me when she's performing, right? So Jurado had a show coming up at a place called The Paradox. This is one of our favorite places to play, their favorite places to play. And I was just sort of, I wasn't really doing shows much.
We ran an episode about this venue. If people want to go back there, because it was a sort of affiliated with Mars Hill and it's complicated.
Yeah.
So
Complicated.
Yeah. So go back
It
to
was a
that if
cool
you want to get
venue.
into The Paradox. But we're going to stick with Rosie's story.
So Damien was playing a show at The Paradox, and he said, hey, do me a favor. I want you to play a few of your own songs during my show. And he would do that to me every once in a while because he was always trying to get people to hear my stuff. And I wasn't playing, I'd have a record. I didn't have anything to give people. I think I made finally a home recording that I would sometimes give out. But I wasn't playing a ton. I was just Damien. I would go on tour with Damien. I was singing with him at the time in his band. And once in a while, he would have me play a few songs of my own, which is very generous of him. So he said, I want you to do a few songs of your own tonight. I said, all right, man. It was during his set. Ladies and gentlemen, Rosie Thompson. I'm sure people are just like, who is this and why is it happening, during his set? So I came out that night. I played October and I played $2 Shoes and a couple, my favorites that I didn't have many songs written. And what I didn't know is after the show, this fella came up to me And he looked older, right? Because I was like 22 or something. And he said, "Would you like to have tea with me?" I said, "Oh no, thank you, sir." I thought he was creepy, and I was, "No thanks."
Yeah.
I thought he was just a creep or something. And then Jurado saw that, and he comes running over me, whispers in my ear, "You're going to want to have tea with this guy." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because it's Poneman from Sub Pop." I said, "Who?" "It's the owner of Sub Pop." I said, "Oh, okay." So I then went back to him. "Sorry, sir." I said, "I'd love to have tea with you." And so we met a week later, maybe. And we walked around downtown Seattle, right around Sub Pop Records, for maybe, I want to say, hour or two. And he just asked me a bunch of questions. "What do you want to do with your life? What do you see for yourself?" I said, "I want to do music. I always have, and I just really want to pursue it." And he said, "What if I could be the launching board for that for you, Rosie?" And I was, "Well, I mean, that'd be great, And so he brought me into the office, and we went to his office, and he opened up his personal checkbook. I could see because it had his name on it. It wasn't Sub Pop. It just said Jonathan Poneman. He said, "Well, I want you to record a few of your own songs the way you've never recorded them before, okay?" And I said, "All right, man. But I want to pay, what would you need to do that, right? Like, how much money would you need for that? Just give me a price. Rosie, don't be shy. Just give me a price." And, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I say? And so he said, "Don't be shy, Rosie. It's this, I'm paying for it. Just like, what do you need? So then I asked him for $500. What a fail.
Oh my gosh.
Leah. And you know what he said to me? He started giggling like you did. And he just goes, are you sure? I'm telling you, don't be shy." I was like, "No, man, $500 ought to do it."
Oh my god.
That was like, I thought I would be rich. I went and bought a couple dresses, Poneman, sorry, with it at a thrift store. And then Jurado and Bazan and I went over to a friend's house, and we recorded them on like an 8-track, right? And I want to say Jurado played drums even. It was really funny. We just all sort of took different parts. And they're the most beautiful songs. I had never heard my music that way. And I turned those into Poneman. 3 songs, just 3. And he said, "Let's do a record deal." I said, "That's crazy. You've only heard 3 of my songs." "I believe in you, Rosie. I just do."
Aww.
And I was like, "But you don't know what the other ones sound like." Because to be honest, I was like, do I even know? I don't even know if I have them.
Wow.
I mean, I did have some. But I was lucky to have 12 songs, at that time, maybe even. I had to, make sure I had something to make a full-length record. But he took a chance on me on listening to 3 tunes and gave me a, record deal. So it was crazy.
I'll put my favorite white dress on and my $2 shoes. Tie my hair up the way you like. Make you see that I'm still in love with you.
And what's crazier about that, Andrew, is I spent time journaling for like 3 months if I should continue going back to theater school and not do the record deal or take it, right? Which is so hysterical that I spent time contemplating that, right? But I did. And I have to tell you, I didn't know Sub Pop was that big of a deal. I mean, I knew Nirvana, but that was like light years ago, So I thought, maybe I should hold out for a bigger label. I didn't know. All this stuff was new for me. I didn't know what was handed to me, if that makes sense. So I spent time really contemplating, is this the best move, Rosie? I don't know. Maybe you should wait for something better. And friends were like, are you out of your mind?
Oh my gosh.
Take it, So I did. And it changed my life, So, but yeah, Poneman, just a darling, dear friend. And one of the nicest people, and just always championed me, and believed in me. And that made it huge. That really impacted me as an artist, as a girl too, I think, in that scene, because there weren't many of us. And even to be a singer-songwriter in Sub Pop, right, a gal, it was sort of new for them to sort of branch into that. Jurado was one of the first ones, it felt like. And you could tell they were trying to go into a different direction. And so they're taking the risk on these artists. And then Sam Beam was following, Iron and Wine sort of followed that, right? So it was sort of the beginning of them sort of changing the trajectory of what kind of people, different sort of music they're putting out. But they took a huge risk on me.
One question that I had for you, when you said you were worried that you were being approached by a creep, of course, that's a very common story. So I didn't blame you at all for making that assumption. And so I just related to your question of being a young woman in that era. Like, how did you, because rock is overwhelmingly male and like the indie scene is as well.
Yes.
So how did you navigate that as a young woman in that world?
I navigated that, Leah, by always not really, I didn't pay attention to that very much, right? I grew up with older brothers. I was very used to being around boys. I was very good at it. I was very cool at it. I took my turn on the hotel floor with a towel, when we all got one hotel room and there was 9 of us or something, or 6 of us, right? Because that's all we could afford. But I also think, I've thought about this more recently, so it's a good question. I think that at the time I was unaware of how much I probably felt insecure too, and I think that's where my personality and even my stand-up stuff or being a silly gal, I felt like I needed to utilize all of myself to fit there. Does that make sense? Because no one was going to come to a Rosie show. No fella, no guy, my friends, even my peers, were going to come and go like, oof, that guitar playing was over the top. No one. It was AD&E, the simple stuff happening up there. My children could play. They might come away saying, what a pretty voice. But they might really come away from it saying, what a personality. Oh, she's so funny. Right. And so and so heartfelt. And so I felt like to feel like I belonged. And it wasn't their fault. It was just something that came out of me, that it had to really be so much more than just a girl playing guitar or piano, right? And I don't think I realized that. But I also have to say, that's a wonderful thing also that came out of me, because I didn't just feel like a musician, right? Like I felt like an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. Like when I play shows now, I talk a lot because I want to tell. I'm a storyteller, and I'm funny, and I love people immensely. I have such a heart for people, and when I got that platform in front of people, I didn't want to just use it to go look at me. I wanted to use it to go look at us struggling in this world, and look at us coming together and bonding. And you're helping me feel less alone by being here, and I'm helping you feel less alone by maybe saying something that you couldn't say on your own and putting a melody to it, right? So it brought out a fuller me, but I think a lot of that was also came out of a place of me feeling inadequate, right? Like I had to be more to belong in that. I'm
hearing your musical theater roots working for you, it seems like.
For sure. I think that's true. And I've always had a, larger-than-life personality, which is so funny, right? Because it would trip people out. They'd hear me talk, and they'd hear me, tell these crazy stories. And I started doing Sheila Saputo, this alter ego. Yeah. Andrew and I were talking about that. And Leah, people were bummed because what they thought I was just going to be the shoegazer on just a depressed gal. But there's so much to me, right? And yes, I'm melancholy, and I really do feel so much. I feel so very much all of it, the highs of life and the joys and also the sorrows, right? So I think it was very perplexing for people at first to sort of take in like, what is happening?
You know what I like about this? It's just like how some of the funniest comedians around are some of the saddest people.
Yeah.
Oh,
some of the
true.
saddest songwriters are some of the funniest people. That makes sense.
Very true.
That makes sense to me.
I think it does.
The rock that doesn't roll. Doesn't roll.
I mean, for listeners who don't know Sheila Saputo, like this is a character that Rosie would open for herself as. I saw you
open
do
for
yourself,
Leah. I did.
Oh my gosh.
It's a neck brace. It's glasses.
Yes.
It's a really pinched.
She had a horseback riding accident, and it was. But I would have to change. Leah was so
complete
weird.
physical transformation. It's like Andy Kaufman's level.
Just who is Sheila Saputo? she's a fighter. In 2001, Sheila was injured in a horseback riding accident and amazingly has never fully recovered.
Yeah, it was launched and it sucked.
A hard worker. She's been delivering pizzas for more than a decade.
So now that I know where you live, is it cool if I stop by sometime or tomorrow, tonight or whatever? Ooh, you got kiddos? Are they ever home alone or?
A natural-born winner. She's a champion bingo player.
Bingo!
How did you come up with this name?
Well, my Saputo was my Nana's last name.
Aww.
I always use family stuff for most things. Sheila was just a name I pulled out to seem like fitting to her, but Saputo was my Nana's last name growing up.
Aww.
And my brother was a pharmaceutical salesman at the time, and I went to visit him on tour. And he looked very depressed. And I said, "What's going on?" He said, "I hate my job." And I looked around the apartment. I said, "What is all this crap?" It was just neck braces piled in one corner, and like leg braces, and like a broken. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It just filled this place. I said, "What is all this garbage? What is this?" He said, "This is what I do for a living, to sell this stuff." I said, "Oh my gosh, no wonder you're depressed. Sucks, So the next day, I always had these bottle fit glasses I had since high school, and I would put them on to cheer people up. It was an easy laugh, right? Anybody could put them on and make someone laugh. So I had them with me. And Jurado would wear them on tour a lot, and it was hysterical to see him in them. So the next morning, I put on the broken leg, the leg brace, the arm. What is that
brace.
called? Sorry, the neck brace, and then a broken thumb. Even had that. So I put it all on. Oh, the arm sling. All right. I looked ridiculous. And it was a snowstorm. This is in Chicago. And I noticed there was a Dunkin' Donuts across the street. And I woke my brother up, and I said, and he looked at me in shock. I said, "BT, I'm going to make your day. All right? Meet me over at the Dunkin' Donuts with your roommates in 10 minutes. Don't laugh and don't talk to me the whole time." He said, "All right." So I go into the Dunkin' Donuts. I stood in line with all this paraphernalia on me. I ordered a coffee. I could barely see it. I had to grab it because I had my glasses on. Grab the coffee. Everyone was silent. No one knew what to do. What is wrong with this woman? Is she all right? Like, I look like, I just came out of the hospital. And I thought I have to have a finale, right? Because I had everyone's attention. My brother, I could hear him giggling. I just wanted to make his day, really, because he was, he was down and out. And so I pulled the chair out. I sat at a table by myself. I pulled the chair out, but I decided I should pull the chair and just fall right to the floor, because I thought that'd be so hysterical if this woman who's already just a disaster, right, fell onto the ground. And so I fell on the ground flat, and I just laid there going, "Oh my gosh," whatever. And this man that worked there, he came out and said, "Oh my gosh, lady, do you need help?" And I said, I decided to say, "No, I got it." Like, I had to do it by myself. So I took all this time to get up from the ground. And it took a hysterical amount of time, right? Because I had to remember, "Rosie, remember your leg is broken," or whatever. So you have to drag it up and remember your neck is broken. So I had to sort of drag this little thing up. And then I decided for the finale, it was silent in there. They didn't know, my sue that, what was happening. And then I took that broken thumb and I pulled it, right? Had the thing on it. And I pulled it up, you guys, to a thumbs up. I pulled it up to a thumbs up, and I just said something like, "Keep on keeping on," or I'm whatever. And it was the weirdest. I knew to, and you guys, that took 2 minutes just to pull that up, right?
Oh my gosh.
And that was it. And so after that happened, I was like, this is hilarious. My brother let me keep all this stuff. And I said, "Jurado, I should start doing this." So before shows, and it was my way of jerking with people. I want to say this very quickly. I'm a girl. I don't like making people feel uncomfortable, Leah. I'm all heart. I don't like that, right? I welcome people, and I'm an invitation to. I want people to feel invited into my life, right? I don't like making people feel uncomfortable by any measure. Sheila was so opposite of that, because it made everyone uncomfortable. And it was so it was almost really courageous of me. "Rosie, could you do this? Could you make people uncomfortable for 15 minutes? Could you stand in this, and hold this ground?" I challenge you to do it. It was like a challenge. And I did it. And every night when I did it, no one laughed. She would just get up there and talk about nothing. Like, what? I eat mustard and I like peanut butter. And like, I mean, it was bizarre. No one knew what to do. And it was amazing. And then I would leave the stage. No one even knew to clap. They didn't know what was happening. And then I would go in the bathroom and change into my own clothes. And I would come up as me because it was my turn to play. And I'd never mention her at all. And it was just this very but Jurado laughed so hard when I did that. Andrew, he was just in awe. Like, Thomas, you're amazing. You got to do that. It entertained them, right? The band. So I think a lot of it, I did that to make them laugh. Like I would do as a kid, making my brothers laugh. I got a kick out of it. So it gave me the bravery to do it, because just hearing Jurado crack up back there, I was like, I'll do this again tomorrow night just to hear that laugh, you know. So that's where it all started. It was really weird.
Eventually, I did buy a Sheila button from the merch table. I had it. I might still have it somewhere. A button just of the
Andrew,
Sheila
I love
face.
that button. Yeah. I have I worked at a preschool with Jurado at the time. And he was terrible at it. We both would nap when the kids napped. And he would snore.
Wait, I gotta ask, how did you two musicians get that job?
Yeah, did they do background checks?
What?
Leah,
I'm used to hearing I was waiting tables, I was working at a coffee shop, but that's the first time I've heard preschool. Yeah.
It was so weird, and Jurado got me hip to it. Rose, you gotta do this preschool job. It's super easy. You can nap when they're napping. Just gotta watch them. You know, they don't need much. Sounds good to me. Pays good. We both worked in a room once, and he would nap. We fell asleep, and the kids were napping. We put like Innocence Mission on, and just like, good night, man. And the parent came in one time and saw that we were just passed out cold, and we got in trouble. They had to put a newsletter. They had to put like a letter in the next day, like, note to the teachers. You can't nap with the kids when they're napping, you know? And I knew it was us, you know? But it was hysterical. And he was snoring. Yeah. Like, he was a snorer, you know? So he was out cold.
That is so funny.
So he got in trouble. But yeah, we were doing that, and they had a photo day for the kids. And I talked to teachers, and I said, could I come dressed as Sheila Saputo for the photo tomorrow? And they said, we'll let you. And I stood in line with like 4-year-olds dressed as her. Oh, it's so funny. And then I just got up, and they were like, what is happening? Because I was the oldest person. It didn't even make sense. And I just did that pose. And that's where I got those photos, and I made those buttons with them. I got like 8x10s of it. I ordered the wallet sizes, you know, and I gave them to all my friends. It was hysterical. That's where that photo came from.
Sheila is an aspiring quadruple threat with dreams of getting to Hollywood on a sling and a prayer. She starred in her own one-woman nativity scene.
I'd say the most challenging part was making the birth look authentic.
And she's always ready to step into a challenging role.
I'm here to audition for the role of baby Jesus.
I have to ask you, because I'm cracking up, because, you know, my kiddos are in school, and I'll get newsletter things where they're like, this such and such a thing happened, like you can't pull ahead of someone in the car line or something like that. And I'm like, oh, somebody got in trouble. But one of the questions that I have for you is about and I'm just jumping way ahead. I'm sorry, Andrew, but this is about parenting and your work, Lullabies for Parents. This is like such a genius idea, and I wonder if the roots of that were in that experience at all, or could you tell us a little bit about your inspiration for creating Lullabies for Parents? I need them. Oh yeah. So I was really appreciative.
Yeah. Leah, I appreciate that, because it's nice to hear that, and I think it's lovely. It's always lovely for me to hear that something helped somebody else, because that was the whole point of that record, and that's the whole point of why I do music, really. But it really came out of it's a very simple thing. I think I was really struggling, no doubt, with how am I going to do this, right? Like, how am I going to teach this little person, these little people, what matters in life when I'm not sure what matters at the time, you know? And I had really hit like a hard place after getting pregnant. I took a break from my career and sort of really questioning a lot of things myself. And how do I teach them how to follow their dreams when dreams don't fulfill? And I was struggling with all these questions. How do I teach them how to love themselves? I'm not even sure if I know how to love myself very well. And these are big things. And I got to learn them, Rosie, because I got to teach these kids. They're deserving of that, right? And so it brought about just so many questions in my own self. And it was oftentimes the right songs is a way to comfort my own self. It's like me answering that question of what I wish someone would tell me. It's going to be okay, Rosie. It's going to be okay. You're flawed, Rosie. And they're going to be flawed too. So you can be flawed too. And you can teach them that it's okay to be flawed, because we all are.
Tell you everything I know. When I cannot find the answers, I help you find them on your own. Tell them girls are more than pretty. Keep those mean boys on their toes. When you're wrestling with Jesus, may his love with his push and shove be the thing you hold.
Right, and it was my own way of soothing myself at the time. But I tend to also just write about what's in front of me. That's the truth. And what was in front of me were a brood of kids, because I just had baby after baby after baby, right? That became my life. And it was all that was in front of me. It was all all encompassing what I thought about. And I realized, man, is this how parents feel? Oh, geez. They need lullabies more than kids do, and that's sort of where that came from, right? Like, it was meant to be. I probably thought, I'll probably do that thing where I write a record for another lullaby record for kids. That seemed like the thing that a lot of friends did after they had a baby.
That Innocence Mission record worked for my kid.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, so.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, I love that record so much. Yeah, and that was probably an influence as well. I could do that. But the more I was writing, the more I realized it wasn't for them as much as it was for myself. And I thought, this should be for parents, so that's where that came from. And it was a really wonderful experience, and I still love those songs very much, because they really they're self-soothing for myself to remember it'll be all right. Like, these are questions I would ask all the time. What if I fail them here? What if I don't have the answer? Buster asked me one time, Mama, he said, what's heaven like? I was like, oof, here we go. What do I tell him? And how do you answer those questions when you're not totally sure what that looks like? And he needed that. He wanted comfort. He wanted to know. And so I decided to ask him, well, what do you think? I said. He was 5. He said, I think that there's a ladder. I said, you do? Yeah, I think there's a ladder, he said, Mama, that comes down from the sky so I can come back and visit. Do you think that's true, Mama? I said, yep. Because I think God loved you that much, he would put a ladder up there, right? Okay, well, I think I'm going to bring my sleeping bag. Can I bring my sleeping bag? I said, yep. And I just sort of let him tell this story. And the more he told it, I said, sure, I think it sounds beautiful, Buster. Because I think God loves you that much that he let you bring your sleeping bag, and I just let him tell it. And I realized it soothed him. And I didn't really have to, I let him answer that for himself and let him paint that picture of what that was like. But there's so many of those moments, aren't there, where you just feel like you've fallen short. You don't really have the answer. And it's okay also to tell them, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that they're going to have those things in life too, where they don't know. But what I do know, a woman told me, and I was nursing Buster one time, a random woman came up to me. I think she could tell was nervously sort of trying to quiet him. And she said, you know what? You're never going to be his everything. And she said, all you have to do is love him. And I said, that's the best thing I ever heard, because I can do that.
Yeah.
Right? I can do that. And that's what we do, isn't it? And we give it our best go, and we wing it. And, we give it our best shot, and we're all just doing the best we can. And we got to teach them that too, that they're going to be doing the best they can too, and how to have compassion and grace for yourself. As it's hard being a person, and it's hard being a parent. Yeah. Right?
It is.
It's hard being a parent. Really brings out that stuff in of how hard it is being a person when you become a parent, right? And it caused me to go back and really look at a lot of things in my life. And that's sort of what my show, I'm not trying to jump ahead.
You have a new project you were mentioning. It involves puppets.
Yes.
Is that right or no? Okay.
No, but I love you for thinking that it could.
Oh, bummer.
Now that you've mentioned it, I know
this is
now
where
you
that
mention
idea
it.
takes hold.
Maybe you just planted a seed for me, Andrew. It's a new show I'm working on. I realized that for me, it's kind of what I was mentioning before, that I'm an entertainer. And I think with music, I hit these walls sometimes where the songs just didn't feel like enough. I always felt like, I gotta say more, Rosie. There's so much more you could say than singing a song everybody already heard. You know, I never felt that settled after doing that for years. So I took a break also to sort of define what that would look like for me. I was getting a lot of anxiety playing, and I didn't know why. I think really a lot of it was my body was saying, this isn't enough anymore. I was getting bored by it, you know? And so I think this simultaneously, I sort of took a break during kids season, which I never thought I'd do. I thought I'd be touring and I'd have a nanny, but I became a mom and I couldn't leave them and I couldn't bring them. And so I just stayed home, you know, and I didn't want to miss out. And so I don't regret any of that at all. But I realized that I probably needed to have dialogue. And how could I do that? How could I play songs and also sort of talk and bridge this all together? So my new show it really stems from our core beliefs. What do we learn in childhood about ourselves? What made us feel loved, seen? What gave us worth? What core beliefs did we sort of come up with then that we've carried on into our adult life that aren't serving us? Maybe they propelled us forward at some point, right? Like it made me go after my dreams, right? Like mine were, I must be impressive. I must utilize all of me. I must be brave. That's what made me feel seen and heard and loved in my family. Keeping it together, being happy, you know, being emotional but too emotional, just caring, you know, keeping it all together. And this is sort of how I entered the world, thinking this is how the world will love me, right? And it wasn't until having children that I realized I gotta go back and fix some of that stuff, because that's no way to live, is it? It was so overwhelming, so much pressure. And Martha Beck, if you guys listen to her, but she had this great quote. She said, how we do something is how we do everything. And it's such a great thing to sit on. How we do something is how we do everything. I thought, geez. So if I went into my life anxious, I became an anxious parent. I wasn't a helicopter parent. I've never been. I wasn't worried that they're going to fall and I didn't catch them, right? I was more worried, am I doing enough? It's always about, am I doing enough? My whole life has been that. You're not doing enough, Rose. You got to do more, which you got to do Sheila. That's not enough, Rose. You got to talk, right? It was never enough. I just had to keep going. Like, what else can you utilize? Pull it out, Rosie. What else you got to share with people? And I went into parenthood like that. And it was making me, was robbing me of joy, really, you know, in a lot of ways. And it forced me to sort of go back and fix those core beliefs. And I won't blame my parents for them. I think there are things I came up with as a kid all on my very own, if that makes sense, right? That they didn't know that I came up with. And I was very hard on myself my whole life. I have been. And I thought I got to get better at that, because I want to teach them how to get back, you know, to sort of love themselves, have more grace and compassion for themselves too. So that's sort of what the new show is about. And then I tie in, you know, I play songs in between, right? So I sort of telling the story about my life and then tying the songs in with it. And I just love it, you guys. I mean, it's just, I love doing it so much. It just really, it's like a one-woman show to some degree, but it feels more like a fuller me, you know? Yeah, it feels like more of a fuller me. And I have done a lot of them. I'm sure, just like Sheila, you know, there are fans that come and they're not really prepared for it being that. But I think when you authentically know that this is the next thing you have to offer, that's the only thing I can do is do that. Right. You know, I don't mean to say whether people like it or not, but in a sense, I got to love it or it's not going to sustain. Right. And I'm finding that I really love this. And I need that for me to continue doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you've been doing this show already, locally, or?
Yeah, I'm doing. I did some house shows, and we would go on, take a trip. So mostly in our general area, right? Like, where could we take the kids where it wouldn't be like crazy? Yeah. So Chicago or Michigan, Georgia, kind of more local places. And it's been wonderful. I mean, it's really just been wonderful. And I really think it's a message that I don't know, you can't hear enough of. I don't sit here thinking I'm the first person that ever said it. I'm no therapist either. I just know that I have a big heart. I have immense compassion for people, and it feels like the next thing that I'm supposed to do is remind us all that we're more than our career. That, that we're more than the things the trophies in our house. That at our core, when Buster was born, I looked at that baby and I thought, oh man, I mean, I love him. He's going to be loved, I thought, and of course, I thought, well, and it's not because he's impressive, Rosie. It's not because he's performing for you. It's not because he's, winning trophies or got a big resume here. He's a baby. But I knew he had inherent worth, right? From the moment he was born, he had a story that he belonged here, that he was going to be loved, that he had a place in this world, not because of anything, but just because at his core he was loved. And it made me really look at myself and try to reconcile. Did I see that in myself? Did I believe that about myself? That the moment I was born, I too had inherent worth? Or was it is my worth based on what I did? Was my worth based on the record deal? Was my worth based on being funny, being impressive? And if that's what my worth is based on, that's unsustainable. That's garbage. So I had to really go back and clean all that up for myself,
So the new show might be a more fully earnest or tonally similar to your music, or yeah.
You know what, Andrew? That's kind of true. It's gosh, it's a lot of suppressing, isn't it? But yes, it's more. It's kind of matches the music a little bit more.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's the kind of thing I was thinking about, just because, like what you were saying about your early touring and doing so much. First of all, you have so much talent, so there is a lot to do, so a lot of the people, even in that early indie rock scene, probably couldn't have done, most of what you were doing.
I agree, and nor would they have wanted to. But
they wouldn't have wanted to.
Yes,
but if they had tried, it wouldn't have been funny.
Yes.
It wouldn't have worked.
Yes.
But second of all, we mentioned Lilith Fair earlier, and they were being told nobody wants to buy tickets to see just women, but they were the most profitable festival there was ever. They did so well, even though the narrative was still nobody wants this, but everybody wanted it really.
That's really funny. Yeah.
And so I was just thinking about how going to your shows, you definitely you would remember it, because you were saying you thought if you just did your music, people would not feel like that was enough, but
yes.
If you had been doing that at Lilith Fair in the early days,
yes,
it would have been enough.
True.
You did do it at Lilith Fair in 2010, but who's to say where your career could have gone if it had been part of that initial wave,
Yeah, I think you're right. I appreciate that, but I think you're right.
And so you're kind of finally getting to the point of it sounds like the new show is kind of a culmination, or arriving at something for yourself. Yes,
and it's been a long time coming, because I felt that fracture, something was fractured. When I was performing, the first few years of just doing music, traveling the world all the time. Yeah, I've had quite a fun career, and I was opening for, I played shows with Bright Eyes and, Death Cab and the Shins, James Mercer anyways, and I would call him the Shin. He was always like, stop doing that, Thomas. I'm sorry, can't help it, And Iron and Wine and Sufjan Stevens and all these great things, but at a certain point, it just didn't fulfill me. I couldn't figure out what that was. And I think it took me years to sort of, and a break, I think, too, and becoming a mom, and all these things that are brought out in me, because kids just do, right? They just do. They have a good a habit of making you look at yourself pretty closer up than I ever have, yeah. And I think that's what pulled out, I got to tell more of a story and use these songs to tie into that story. And then I can be a comedian up there. then I can be all heart. Then I can be a little bit of the therapist I feel for my friends, unqualified, no license here, right? But the kind of friend that I am, and I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend. I love people and I love pouring in. I love being with them in their darkest moments and not cleaning it up, just sitting with them in it, you know, trying to figure out what's the next thing, what's going to make them feel less alone. I feel that with fans so much that I have to be careful, you know, guys. I give people my, I wasn't allowed to come out after shows, Andrew. I mean, people are like, Rosie, you can't sell your merch. You keep giving people your phone number. And I said, well,
oh no.
Yes, Leah.
I was so
said,
curious
you know,
about that. Yeah.
Oh, Andrew, I couldn't. The guys wouldn't let me anymore because I'd just be like, we got to finish this conversation, you know, Mary.
Oh,
and,
that's so sweet.
You know, we need more time together. And I couldn't keep up with it. I had so many people's numbers and I give my email out and I have to remember who was who. And I got in trouble for it, you know, for crossing those lines.
Man.
But I just had, I really meant that. I really felt that. It wasn't just to, to win points with anyone. To be like, oh, isn't she cool? She really cares. I really care, you know?
Yeah. You know, that's interesting. We had, on Sound Opinions, Sharon Van Etten was on
I love her.
Back.
Yes.
And she talked
her.
about, she talked about the same thing, how she would meet people at her shows that were affected by her music, and she would like strike up relationships. And then she went back to school for like clinical social work degree or something.
Did she
to
really?
That effect.
That's amazing.
I don't know if she actually finished it or not, but like she was definitely like, this is a problem. Like this is a occupational hazard that I'm running into, you know. I'm so empathetic that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I very much relate to that. She's amazing too. I only got to meet her playing with Iron and Wine. I think she opened at that time, but what a talented person. It makes me love her even more knowing that's her heart.
That's got to be a thing, because like talking with David Bazan, he would talk about how guys would come up and want to debate theology with him.
Oh, he loves that, right?
He hated it eventually.
Oh, maybe maybe after a while he did. That's true. Well, he does the questionnaire, right? I don't know if he still does it.
He does
Remember
it on
that,
stage,
Andrew?
the questions. Yeah,
I think he loves that. But maybe you're right. He probably didn't love getting into those topics, and people love doing that with him. People love doing that with him as much as they love coming to me and sharing their heart, right?
Okay, that's what they were sharing. Okay.
Very much about broken hearts. I could get there with people fast, though, because I'll just ask them. I've never been afraid of that, you know. Put me anywhere, I'd speak. You all right? What do you mean? I don't know. You all right? You know, what's the best thing? What's the most thing you're excited about? They'll tell me. Well, what's the thing you're struggling with the most? And you know what I learned? Leah, people love to talk about themselves. They're just waiting for somebody to ask them. You know, and there it is. And then I love to, love being there for those moments. But yeah.
You know, I mentioned that I grew up in a pastor's family, and my mom was the pastor's wife, which is, of course, a very critical role in a church. And I remember, as I grew up, if I were ever nervous for some sort of public event, my mom would say, "Oh, yeah, you just ask people about themselves. Then don't even worry about it. They'll get going and you can just relax."
It's
and
true.
She was right.
She's right. And I think we forget, you know, I said this to Sufjan once, you know, we forget to, I forget to tell my peers, my friends, how good their music is. So let's say Suf puts a record out. You know, everyone else celebrates it, right? The fans or the people, you know, listen and buy the records. But as a friend, I think sometimes we forget to tell each other. So I'd say to Sue, if I haven't said it before, I love your record. I'm a fan, you know? And it means a lot coming from a friend when you're told that. It really does. It touches my heart when a friend tells me that over somebody I don't know. It still means a lot to me when people tell me, you know, people I don't know. But when a friend says it, boy, it really hits me. And I think it's the same. Your mom is spot on, because I don't think people realize how lonely they feel until somebody says, "How are you doing?" Right? And in a sincere way, in a sincere approach. Are you doing all right? You know, I think it's amazing what people open up with, because I think what we realize is I don't know the last time somebody asked me that, or that I asked myself that, you know. And so I think that's why people are, not everyone. Believe me, I've had people be like, When I lived in New York, I'd ask people that all the time. And then it didn't go as well there. You know, it was just like, what? That's for my therapist. Like, it's not, whatever. And I was perplexed. But that's what forges friendships, connection. And that's for me, that's my biggest, I think the most important thing to me is human connection. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's why I love that so much,
The rock that doesn't rock.
That reminds me, I came across something when I was doing research for this that I didn't know about. Apparently, you and Dennison and Sufjan all lived together for a while in New York. Is that right? When you were...
I would go...
It says on the internet that you shared an apartment, the three of you.
That is not true, Andrew. But
okay,
good. But that's funny. I think I read that too, and I was like, nope, that was embellished. When I first went to New York, after Suf and I met, I guess, we did a tour together. I knew about him from Michigan. And I thought about Asthmatic Kitty, I thought, because he gave me one of his records, Suf did. Mm-hmm. And he said, you should look into the label, whatever. And we became, we weren't tight buds then. I just knew of him. And then when I signed with Sub Pop, one of the first tours I did was I went to Europe, and Sufjan and I did that tour together. And I mean, I loved him from the start because he was challenging. I remember the first time we met Leah, I hugged him, and it was like hugging a statue. It was just, like hugging pottery. It was
was that like challenge accepted? Yes. I could see, because you're so warm.
I loved it.
I'm sure you were just like, this is my personal project.
I said, oh man, we're gonna hit it off. He said,
I love that.
So
I also have a thing for folks like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
My heart, it just. I think it's the opposite, the polar opposite thing happening, isn't it? It sort of, it really compels me. And, people let you in, they let you in. Some people don't, but he did. And I just said, I'm going to keep hugging you. He said, please don't. I said, I'm probably going to though, And then we became buds, and he would get irritated with me. Stop talking. All right, man, you should talk more. I'd say to him. And he'd do 7 songs. I'd be like, why didn't you do 8 songs? Why didn't you do 9? Why 7? And, you get so frustrated. But we razz each other pretty well. And but I loved him instantly. I had a heart for him. Loved his music, but I just loved him. I had such a heart for him. He was so interesting to me and different. And I think vice versa. He would say, he would watch me with people, go, how do you do that? You know what I mean? They're just very different people. And so I always wanted to go to New York. I always wanted to move there. And so I asked Sue if I'd come out and stay with him. And I stayed in his apartment. And when I was there, I said, I think I called him beforehand. I think I need to come to New York, I said, and I think I need to record something just with friends. No pressure. I was tired of the pressure of record after record over, after year after year after year. I said, I think I need something inspiring. He said, that sounds good to me too, Rosie. His career had really pretty much taken off at that point. That sounds really fun. So I went out there and stayed in his apartment. And we just started, he's so fast at recording. You just chuck a mic in the room. This is in his bedroom, and pull out like something, an instrument, and just record. And it was like the best thing I ever heard, and you should watch it. It's so fast. The thing I love about Suf is he's fast, just like me. I don't have time. Like, I hate practicing. I'm like, don't we all know this song? If we fail it at the show, I'll make it up with a joke. It's fine. Do we really need to practice this stuff? I'm really bad at that, So I love recording with Suf because he's fast at it. And Dennison then heard that we were doing this, and Dennison then came down and joined us. And we hung out maybe a couple weeks together in Suf's apartment until Suf had it, because Dennis and I are a handful, I think, Andrew, one time he told me, he said, Rosie, you need to leave now. I said, what? Yeah, I'll buy you a flight home. I said, what? Yeah, it's too much. I said, who says that to a friend? Who says that to a friend? Hey, I still love you. But who says that to someone, But he's a truth teller. He'd just tell you, I'm good. But it's too much, But that's how that record came together. And it was one of the funnest things, I've done.
All right, so we've debunked one internet falsehood today.
Yeah,
though.
that one's
false.
false.
live together in an apartment?
No,
three
we
of
just
you?
stayed
I
with
did
Cash
see the
at
three of
Sue's.
you on a tour though around that time.
Yes.
The three of you toured, right?
Yep, and that's
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that
Yep.
tour together, and that's when I was headlining that tour, which is hilarious. And then we got to Michigan, to Blind Pig in Ann Arbor, and there was a line out around the corner of people, and I thought to myself, "You did it, Rosie. You did it."
But it was for Sufjan.
For him. Because,
That's so funny.
because he was playing in the middle, and after
Yeah.
he played, I said, "You did it, Rosie." My whole family was there, all my friends. Can't believe it, you did it. But after he played, I was getting ready to set up. Half the crowd dispersed. They're gone. And I said, "He did it, Rosie. He did it." And he was mortified, right? Because Sue doesn't want that attention. He was so
Yeah.
bummed about it. He says, "Happened. I'm excited for you. I'm bummed for me, but excited for you." Because it was like he was bummed for himself, But that was the beginnings of it all. I saw it
Yeah,
happening,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk with you for probably another few hours, I
Yes.
think.
Thank you so much.
Leah,
I
you're
will-
wonderful.
I
You
will
are.
mention
Thank
one
you.
thing.
Yes.
One thing I came across yesterday when I was researching was the movie you were in, Calvin Marshall.
Oh, yes, Andrew. How
Yes,
funny
I
you brought
watched
that
it on
up.
Tubi. I
Oh,
watched
gosh.
it on Tubi.
He does really good research. Yeah.
Andrew, you do such good research because I'd forgotten about that. I just thought about Steve Zahn the other day.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
for
oh,
spoiler
funny.
alert, you get to make out with Steve Zahn, you get to pour a beer on his head, and
Yes.
you also get to sing in a
Yes.
scene. in the movie,
Amazing.
It was
So I'd say you bat for the cycle in your first outing in a movie. I'd say,
I was really impressed with myself, but I was so nervous.
I'm sick to death of trying, and it's easier for you. Yes, easier for you.
All right, I gotta take a break. That's the fast part. Yeah, we got another. That's a good one. We got another bit to go.
He was so cool, though. I was not excited about that kissing scene at all. Oh, it was
did
so
you? Did it
gross.
feel like your older brother's parties? Because that's kind of
little
what
bit.
the scene is like.
Yeah, I just told him, don't put your
pouring
I think I told him not to put his tongue in my mouth. I said, don't put your tongue in my mouth. Like, I'll die. But he was so funny. We hit it off because he was in this movie called Safe Men. If you've never seen it, you've got to see it. And I had it memorized. It was like a cult classic in Seattle. We'd all watch it again and again and again. And so when I was in this movie with him, it was in Ashland, Oregon that we filmed it. I saw him coming out.
Oh, I love Ashland.
Oh, Ashland's so beautiful, isn't it, Leah?
Yeah,
It's like
the Shakespeare Festival.
Yes,
It's so beautiful.
It's the
yeah.
most charming town. It was like winter, and it was just like picturesque out of a movie, right? And here comes Steve Zahn walking down the sidewalk. I thought, there he is. And I thought, oh gosh, I, what do I say to him? And so I quoted one of those lines in Safe Men in the movie, which is, why don't you take that dime and get yourself a decent haircut, was one of the lines. So he walked up, I said that, and he was like, whoa, what? Because it was sort of this really B-side sort of movie. It wasn't like, a big film. And I quoted a bunch of lines from it, and it was just like it bonded us, and we hung out the entire time together, laughing our heads off. He's one of the funniest guys, sweetest guys, too. But yeah, the kissing scene was really hard for me. Oh, my gosh. I was going to barf my pants. It was so hard for me. But
yeah, for your first movie too. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, he was cool though, so it helped. It helped. With that. Yeah, I got to see
So,
him too.
anyways, I had no idea that you had done that until yesterday. But
I forgot about it until you brought it up. I want to tell you. I'm going to close with this. So I want to tell you one thing about CCM that I know.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know much. So when we first moved here. Oh, and I want to tell you this before I let you go. Boy, aren't you lovely. And Leah, just so lovely. And it's so weird for me, because oftentimes I've been notorious when I do interviews. The interview doesn't end up about me. It ends up about the other person. And Sub Pop would give me 4 interviews in a row. You only got 30 minutes, Thomas, they say. Do you hear us? 30 minutes. And then the next one's calling. You hear me? Look at me. 30 minutes. Like, yep. And the first one, I'd be like, what's going on in your life? And they're like, well, I'm going through a breakup. I was like, I knew it. Oh, my breakups suck, right? And then I'd hear the line be beep, beep. That's the next call, right? I'd be like, I can't take that right now. This person's hurting, right? And by the end of it, I go, oh my gosh, I got to go. But also, we never talked about my record. Just say whatever you want, I'd say. I mean, it's just music, right? Not Biggie. It's a singer-songwriter. What else can you say? Like, I'm funny. Just say whatever you want. But call me if you need to talk more about, Ryan and what he put you through, whatever. But that was sort of the tie-up, right? And some people get so upset at me. You missed, like, the other 4 interviews. Said they were hurting. Why are you talking about that? They'd say, did you even talk about your record? Not really. Whatever. It's just a record. Who cares? But, so I'm pretty notorious for that. So it's really, like Leah, there's so much part of me when you were talking about your dad being a pastor that I so wanted to know what was that like growing up with that, because I know that that's its own thing. Or your mom, what is it like being a pastor's wife? I know that's got to be a hard role. Who do you talk to when you're supposed to sort of keep up appearances? So it's been hard for me not to sort of switch it, but I've really kept myself answering.
You did a good job.
I appreciate it.
Because we didn't want to hear about us. We really wanted to hear about you.
I like
so
you.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
The last thing I want to tell you is Matt Maher. Shoot, I gave it away. This is the last thing I'll say. So we started going to church here. We're checking out churches, and the first place we went, this guy got up singing. It was really talented, right? I thought I should tell him, because that's really big for me. I always want to tell people. Nice shirt, I'll say. Oh, your hair is so pretty. I always want to tell something nice. So when he was done performing, I went up to him, and I said, "Sir, what a talent!" I said, "You are. It's really amazing. Like, I'm so glad you found a way to utilize your talent, And part of me was thinking, boy, it's kind of sad that he's only doing worship. He seems like he could probably do his own record and all these other things, but good for him. Good on him for finding an outlet for his passion. But boy, it just seems like he could have done so much more. And he took the favor. I said, good on you for figuring out what you love. It's a blessing when any of us figure that out, And he's like, looked at me like, all right, he didn't have much to say. I mean, he was a really sweet guy. And then months later, I found out, I didn't even hear his name before. They're like, do you know who? I was telling his friend that, so that guy that performed? I was telling him how amazing he figured out what he wanted to do with his life. And he's just doing it on Sundays. And what a talent, though. He could probably be doing more of it. They're like, Rosie, that's Matt Maher. I said, who's that? He's like, he's huge. And I looked him up. I was like, well, he's doing good.
He's doing all right.
He's doing all right. But I didn't know. That's why I told him,
what?
Good on you, I said.
I used to live in Nashville, and that is a very Nashville story.
Andrew told me this.
Yeah, where you just all of a sudden people, because every little, even the tiniest little church has somebody who's a pro.
Yeah, they're all
and
talented.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah, because I grew up in a small church in Oregon. The music didn't sound like that.
No, it does not. Friend.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to sing here anymore because everybody is standing, right? I won't do karaoke. I used to bring the house down. I can't now here. But I hear you.
You got to do it.
Well,
like
I've done it.
Or something.
Yeah, I've done some. I did a Phil Collins song. It went bad, but I did both parts. It was like a duet. And I didn't know that.
What song was it?
Oh, Separate Lives. One that you should know. It's like, look it up. But it's a tragic song, and I played both parts.
That's fun. Thank you. That was a great CCM story.
Well, yeah, that's the one I wanted to give. It's the only one I got. Audrey Assad, I know a little bit about because her voice is amazing. And I went to Bible college with Jeremy Camp, and I know that he is like huge. Isn't that funny? He was just a surfer friend.
So
he's
got
huge.
Some connections.
That's the only three I got. But the Matt Maher one was funny. You're welcome.
That is a really good story. Thank you so much for joining us, Rosie.
Yeah, thank you. Andrew, thank you so much for wanting to do this. It means a lot to me, and it makes me feel special. And thanks for making people feel special by listening to them and, and letting people know a bit more about who they are and letting other people share their hearts and their thoughts. But sure like you guys very much. probably tell
Yeah,
you I love you.
thanks.
Yeah,
And I
we
don't want
like
to
you
overwhelm
too.
you with my love, but I do love you. But I love what you guys do. So keep it up and know you're doing the right thing because you're lovely.
You too.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right.
That's it for our conversation with Rosie Thomas. For more of Rosie's work, you can check out rosiethomas.bandcamp.com. There's a lot there to find, including her most recent project, Lullabies for Parents, Volumes 1 and 2, available on vinyl. Thanks to Rosie for joining us. Thanks to you for listening. Thanks to our Patreon supporters for making the show possible. We'll be back in 2 weeks. In the meantime, you can find us on Substack and Instagram by searching Rock That Doesn't Roll. And of course, you should give us a rating and review on whatever podcast app you're using to listen right now.
Season 4 of Rock That Doesn't Roll is distributed through the Public Radio Exchange with funding from our Patreon community. It's produced by the one and only Andrew Gill.
Our original score is by Jim Cooper of Infomercial USA. If you have a story to share or thoughts on this episode, please call our hotline at 629-204-4264. Our email address is rtdrpod@gmail.com. I'm Andrew Gill.
And I'm Leah Payne. Remember, rock all you want, but watch it when you start to roll.
Thanks so much for listening to this entire episode all the way to the end. Give yourself a pat on the back. And if you enjoy the show this much, consider becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/RTDR. Thanks so much.